Inside every box is a secret surprise. Kick-hank.
Oh,
Right before your eyes, your three expert cartoonists have emerged again, ensorceling you with our smiling angelic countenances, matinee idol good looks, and lantern jaws. Well, hello. Welcome back to Pencil to Pencil. We're back, y'all. I love it. Look at that jawline. Look at that jawline, Mike Manley. Wow. It's like chiseled out of granite.
good evening.
Good evening. But don't take us for granted. My fine feathered friends. Pencil to Pencil is back on your video scope. If you see your three expert cartoonists, that means some things are true. One, it must be Wednesday, 8 p.m. EST somewhere in the world. Two, you're about to get your eyes are hold on. It's one of my favorite things. You may pay for the whole seat, but you'll only need the edge. Ask me anything. Livecast with three expert cartoonists who I don't know if you counted up our years as a total rubric, it's over 90, almost 90, 100 years of cartooning experience. Right? So like Steve, 30, right? Almost 30 about, or maybe a little more than 30.
I self-published my first book in 94.
Yeah, that's almost what? I can't say it.
That's all. That's 32. That's 32 years.
Mike, 40.
42.
I started.
We're 74. You're 26. You got 26 in you.
I started self-published in 98.
We're there. We're at 102 years.
Oh my goodness, guys! As you just
care for cartooning.
As you pick your jaw off the floor, let's do some introductions, guys. Hello, my name is Jamar Nicholas. I am your first host. I wear many hats beyond this one. I am on the board of the National Cartoonist Society. Just next month, the National Cartoonist Society celebrates their 80th year in existence. Let's talk about old. The Reuben Awards and Conference will be in Columbus, Ohio. On Saturday, there's going to be a very special, open to the public, cartoonist showcase with a cavalcade of stars. Also myself with the Scholastic crew doing a ticketed event. Go to nationalcartoonist.com for more information. On top of that, I also have a book coming out in January. Leon and the Big Problem is the next book of my series at Scholastic Graphics. Steve, what do you think they should do about that?
Pop it. Why don't you?
Yes, why don't you? Why don't you? Guys, I would be remiss. I would be in remission if I did not introduce you to my cohort, co-defendant, and co-conspirator. You may have seen him, especially with this weather, Mike, with this summer weather, roasting, walking down the side of your internet superhighway with a melodic tinkle at his back. Give him a ride, why don't you? You see him with his thumb out. By God, it's Stone Cold Steve Conley.
Gentlemen.
What's up, Steve?
It is so good to see you. My name is Steve Conley. I am a card-carrying member of the National Cartoonist Society, and I wear only one hat. But the hat has got all those little compartments. It does get a lot of things going on. But it's this hairpiece which I wear every day.
Your man unit.
I have a team of people who apply this, and it's also a Photoshop filter. So I appreciate. Thanks to the tech gurus who put this together. But I create your 37th favorite webcomic, The Middle Age, which you can read at middleagecomic.com. It's on your Webtoons. It's on your Tapas. It's on your Go Comics. It's everywhere you want to be. I also make TTRPG stuff like Intoximancy, Death Dealing, and the latest Abracadabra. You can find it all at steveconley.com. But I would not countenance myself if I did not share the countenance that is Mr. Mike Manley. He drew your childhood, and he's in that box. He's in that box right there. Look at him.
Hello, everyone. I am the official governmental drawer of childhoods.
You get a sash for that, right?
Yeah, sash, and I think a lifetime supply of prune juice or something, But yeah, 42 years this month.
Wow, Mike, that's
starting to go into my 43rd year. because it was in '84 I started working on that Robotech book for DC.
Wow.
It was I think I moved at the end of June. So yeah, I have gone past going into my 43rd year now.
That's fantastic, Mike. Mike, do you? We'll talk. Well, this is a whole episode is a talkie, so we're going to talk about a lot. But one thing that I did over the last couple of days was kind of talk my brain off to people about cartooning and comics. Does it ever get old talking to people about comics and cartooning? Like,
no, I mean you always have the repeated questions, you know, but you know, it's not like it's hard to talk about. You know, people usually ask you the same. I'm sure, like you just did a keynote, you said.
mm-hmm.
And then I'm sure people ask you like, "Oh, well, how long have you been drawing? Did somebody in your family draw? Where do you get your ideas? Oh, they still make those?"
That's the worst. That hurts. That's almost as bad as Pow Bang Zoom. Comics aren't for kids anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know, because people don't really have context for our profession. You know, I still think that's a really big issue because probably the cartoonist or the person they associate is Stan Lee, and he's been dead, 5 years now, something like that. But that is, if they think of somebody, that's who they think of. I don't even think they think of Charles Schultz because he's been dead too long.
They think of Jim Garfield.
Jim Garfield, wasn't he the 34th president of the United States?
Yeah, I think they think of Stan Lee. I bet you if you ask 100 Americans, they couldn't name a cartoonist. Very few could name a cartoonist.
You know what? I'm thinking about like where we are right now in time. To get asked that question to like, you know, I don't know, in a high school hallway. Hey, name 3 cartoonists. I don't know, who would they say?
I don't think they could say 3 cartoonists, honestly. I think even a lot of people who because there's artists, right, who like stuff, and we like stuff in a different way than the layperson does. So we can't count ourselves into that. Right.
There was a Jeopardy Daily Double question the other day, and the answer was spoilers for anyone from like 3 weeks ago. But Bill Watterson was the answer, and all 3 people got it. I was very happy to see that. Yeah.
Well, but again, they're Jeopardy people. They're not the average person.
Yeah. But they weren't. But they like, what was I think it was an accountant or a lawyer or something like that.
But they were probably all.
Yeah, but they also knew the average weight of a bowling ball or something.
Exactly.
Like that.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I think if you ask the average person, they couldn't tell you. Even the average person might be able to say like Norman Rockwell and.
I don't think people connect Matt Groening with cartooning anymore.
No, we're showing our age. You know what? I was going to say maybe Dave Pilkey because the kids know.
Yeah,
they know him.
Do they know Dave Pilkey or do they know the character?
I think they might not know what he looks like, but his name's on everything.
So now you're talking about kids under 10.
I'm just talking about kids, period, because Captain Underpants is like 25 years old.
Yeah, they've got kids of their own now.
He's been in the system for a while.
I mean, that would be an interesting thing. I just think that, you know, we're in a time where, you know, people used to be able to name an author. They used to be able to name, you know, a cartoonist. They could name a film director. You know, they used to be able to name people that were at the top of their profession, right? But I think, and that was mostly newspaper cartooning, not comic books.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It wasn't until people came along, probably in the 60s, that they would know comic book people, you know. But out of that group, probably the person that people would remember is Stan. They wouldn't remember Jack. because Jack Kirby didn't go on TV shows and he wasn't on What's My Line, or, they didn't have Steve Ditko on This Week with Ayn Rand, they didn't,
Yeah.
Most of the guys that we grew up admiring were not celebrities where they would go on, Dick Cavett or something like that. It would always be somebody like Stan.
You know what's also funny, thinking about personalities? You saw Harvey Picar on things more than anybody else, because he used to like get up David Letterman's skin, you know what I mean? And it was good TV. Cruisin' Bill says, my son said there's 3 cartoonists on the stream. Boom. Answer. There you go. That's a cheat code right there. I like it.
But also the cartoonists back then wouldn't be expected to be in that situation. It would be a lot of yeah. Having direct eye contact might have not even, that wasn't part of the cartoonist's toolkit until the last 30 years or so.
Yeah.
Even doing this.
Yeah, and the most popular cartoons in the world, like One Piece, you never see the guy who does that, right? He doesn't go on talk shows. He probably doesn't even speak English. You know what I mean? So a lot of the internationally famous stuff that kids would know now, you don't see those artists, at least not in America or any, you don't see those guys interviewed very much.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So this is a perfect segue into what we're doing tonight, you guys. Once again, I must thank you all for joining the live stream where, your dreams do come true, right? That does happen every Wednesday. But also, you get to, if you're here with us live and not watching this on the replay, you are in concert with a chat lousy with cartoonists, filthy with pro cartoonists. So if you're kind of like one of those button lip types, get active in the chat. Start asking us questions. Even just kind of like drink in the aura that's happening tonight. Look at all these people.
In my aura. As Frank Zappa would say.
So let's give you our run of show tonight. Tonight, you guys, it's all for you. At the cartoonists. At the cartoonists. One more time. At the cartoonists. One of my favorite topics, where you, dear viewer, get to ask your 3 expert cartoonists any comic, animation, or art question. We will do our best to answer. So why don't you start ginning up some questions in the chat? And we already have a couple of questions already. Let's just get started. How's that sound, Steve Conley? The first one is for you, Stone Cold. Huzzah! Right off the rip. Question for Stone Cold. How's the editor?
As folks may know, I have my editor is my cat. His name's Eros. He's fantastic, but sadly earlier this year diagnosed with cancer in one of his legs. Good news for cats, that prognosis is not fatal. So he had to have his leg amputated. And so it's about 2 months since then. I know, keep it light entertainment. But he is doing great. Almost immediately after surgery, he was moving a lot better. And so he's doing fantastic. Not quite confident enough to jump up on things just yet. So the place is a lot of ramps and stairs and things like that. And but he's doing great. Thank you for asking. That's very kind.
Oh, very good. Good to hear it.
Yeah, animals, when I had my dog Shazam had her cancer on her leg, we weren't sure if she was going to have her leg amputated. And the vet said, the thing is that animals don't dwell on that. So there's plenty of 3-legged dogs and cats, or 2-legged dogs and cats in the world, and they don't go like, oh my God, my leg, man, he took my. They don't get freaked out by it. They just they go on. They just live their life.
A kind thing I heard from a bunch of people when I worried about how he'd react and what his life was going to be like, and someone said, dogs and cats have 3 legs and a spare, and so it turns out to be entirely true. So he's doing fantastic. He's doing fantastic. Just as playful, just as purring, and just as happy.
He doesn't go down to lick it and then like.
No, there is. I will say that that's the one part where. Yeah, I could just see him leaning his ear toward his back leg. He assumes it's still there on that side. He wants to, and you see the little stump going. I'm like, that causes me to dive across the room and take care of it for him. So, but he's doing great. He's got a good helper.
I wonder if they have phantom leg, like people who get amputations have like phantom limb. You know,
I'm convinced he still thinks one day he's going to become a human, and so I just haven't been able to break the news to him that he's stuck as a cat.
You got to lift that curse, Stone Cold. You know, if this was a Disney movie from the '80s, you'd be able to like get Fred McMurray to help.
He doesn't know how good he has it.
you get Fred McMurray to come and kiss him and turn into a human.
Wait, that sheepdog looks like. Is that my mother? You know, those shows. If that stuff was real, there'd be a lot of just stuck people because I'd never figure that out.
Every animal turns into Fred McMurray. Ask your great grandparents.
That's right.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, that's great. The cat from outer space too. What up, D-Fish? So we don't have to like blaze through these. We have lots of questions, guys. Keep the questions going. And I'm going to kind of just like pepper I'm going to put some meat on the sandwich while we're talking about this. Just how we kind of started the show with our cold open, talking about, one, how many people actually know a cartoonist. If you are one, then you're the person that we're speaking of. But also just to talk about in mixed company, it's like, wow, if I actually met a cartoonist, what would I ask them? Because we're human. Do we not bleed, Steve Conway? But also, we all, even though this, I remember having these arguments back when I was younger about, like, this isn't really a job, right? It's like a lifestyle, right? Right? You don't like turn off the light and you're not a cartoonist until you go back to work in the morning. Like, your whole thing is set up to think in these parameters. So think about that. And my mind is kind of, go ahead.
I've heard the same about the complaint. People complain about young people wanting to be influencers or YouTubers. I think there are more successful YouTubers than there are cartoonists, which is really weird that this is even more of a rarefied profession. Despite all the venues and avenues we have now for our work, that I think the monetization is actually kind of baked into YouTube. There's a plan. If you're going to go on YouTube, here's the threshold I have to hit. Here's the number of viewers I need to have, the number of hours per month that need to be seen to activate monetization. And they've got memberships. But for cartoonists, it feels a bit more, I don't know. I think it feels a bit more of like an uphill battle since it is so nebulous and there's so many paths.
Well, it's also, it's not your performance is a process, like baking, right? It's not like, hey, this performance is nothing like our day job. This is completely separate. This is an influencer kind of thing. You come on and you talk and you bullshit or whatever, you do your thing. That's not what I was doing earlier today. I was sitting here looking at something, reading it, interpreting it, drawing it. It's starts interior, and then it comes out through a physical demonstration or execution, which is not what. And I'm not getting an immediate. Your feedback is different, and I think a lot of people love the. They want to be an influencer because they want to be a celebrity, and they want that. They want that kind of feedback. Where an artist, that's not what you do. That's not really what you're interested in. Because the thing is, the thing I worked on today, people aren't going to see for weeks.
Right.
Right. Mm-hmm. I'm not getting an immediate feedback except for my own feedback, my own reaction to what I do. And maybe, Tony will react, or Francesco, or, one of the editors might react when I send it in, but it's the reader, that connection to the audience doesn't happen with me. Right? Like today, when somebody opens up their newspaper or they go to the Comics Kingdom website and they read the strip, I'm not there. I have no knowledge unless they write me. I have no idea what their reaction was. So
Right.
again, it's a very different way of, if you're a singer, you sing and the audience immediately gives you a feedback. If you're a musician, you perform, the audience, if you're live performing, your audience gives you an immediate feedback. Cartooning is not live. It is a delayed response.
Right.
And you really don't know sometimes for weeks or months. Or in Jamar's case, he's worked on a book that's going to come out, in January? So the only response you might know before that is like the numbers are running whatever, right?
Right. Yeah.
And maybe they send out review copies, and I don't know if you'll get stuff from that, but I mean, it's a very different. That's why I always say it has a lot to do with your personality.
And I think that's one of the appeals for me for webcomics is that there's instant gratification, but any cartoonist can get that by posting their artwork on Instagram or any social media. But the idea with my comics was to put a page online and immediately start getting feedback. And, I don't know if you want the feedback, I don't know if that's some people don't want to, find themselves in the comments, responding to everything, but I liked it. I don't know. It's also a thing where it's like, and if there's a delay between episodes, I'm kind of building up. There's the 10th anniversary of the Middle Age is this Saturday, so I've got a new episode coming out then, and then but there was a break in the middle as I've been working on other stuff. But in that time, I'm getting like notes. Hey, when's the next episode? When's the next episode? And you can hear that as a complaint, or you can hear that as anticipation. Like I choose to hear it as anticipation, and I appreciate it. That people are interested in the next episode, but I like that when I post it immediately, there's feedback. And,
well, there is that thing I think that probably different for us than it is for young people because, our whole way of working and receiving attention to your work is very old. And now you've got somebody who's like, as soon as they start thinking they want to be a cartoonist, they start putting in stuff on, TikTok or Instagram or Blue Sky or whatever, and they start immediately getting feedback, right? So if I think when I was like 13, I'm starting to do my little comic stories and my samples, once or twice a year, I would get to a convention or maybe my friends would see it or something. I was not immediately having access to the entire world with one click. Could like go there and like put a hashtag, right?
Right.
And you immediately start getting feedback, which, can be encouraging or, mean. I mean,
blistering. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I can't imagine how I would have reacted. I mean, I kind of slammed on a guy the other day because I was reacting to a post, and this guy was reacting to it and making a very negative comment about another artist, and I kind of slammed the guy for it. That's the kind of thing that people do now all the time that didn't exist, because even if you didn't like, let's say you didn't like Sal Buscema, I'm going to write a letter, or I'm going to scroll with my, my club fist of anger, with my blunt, lumberjack pencil. I don't like Sal Buscema, right? And you're going to mash it into an envelope, and you're still going to have to go like, 575 Madison Avenue, dear Stan Lee, right? Even the crank had to put a lot of effort into being an asshole back in the day, right? And now people are just cranks. You're just cranks all the time. There's no effort to being a crank, right?
I love the amount of sustained rage you'd have to motivate you through that whole process. And nowadays,
licking the envelope.
Yeah. Like if you have to walk across the yard to send a mean comment, most people would be like, They move on to the next thing.
They can save up the corner spittle to
That's
lick the envelope with.
That's right. That's thick hate spittle. Ugh. I make envelope closed.
Wow. All right.
And people, and the other thing is that people were pointed specifically with their criticism. Now people just pile on. They come like from all angles and like hijack your post. Because Joe Justico had put a post up about something the other day about a convention.
I saw
and then
that.
all these other people come in, man. They're like jumping in on top of his post to air they got their axe out now, and they're going at his post, which has nothing to do with what he talked about at all.
Huh.
Well, that's the echo chamber, right? It's kind of like, and that's, we could talk a whole thing about every one of our comic book people. Us too. Anybody that has a social media presence has a pool of people that are going to agree with you when you post something, and that's dangerous, especially if you're used to the echo chamber, right? So I think, and I kind of read through what you're talking about with Joe, but he kind of like remarked on something that didn't really go well for him. And then like the comments turned into like a pitchfork and torch crowd. And he's like, no.
Yeah, he had to take it down. Yeah, he had to remove it. Yeah.
Like, it's fine. I'm okay. You don't have to go like, kidnap anybody. It's fine.
Right.
You tell them you give me their address. I'm like, what? What are you guys doing? So I think if anything, Mike, we're in a place now where maybe it's to your best interest to not put all your business in the street, because people can't handle a business. Even if you're just trying to connect with your audience, they take everything so literally. Or as I also like to say, that there is no gray. It's either this rules, he's the GOAT, or this is trash.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's nothing in the middle anymore.
Right. Also, and a lot of times people are commenting not even from somebody who's in the position of having experienced it or had that experience, or it would be like me, I don't know, talking about inside soccer or something. I'm not a soccer player, but I saw a ref made a bad call, and then all of a sudden, I'm into the whole. I think people just they just love to go around, I guess, on social media as an outlet for your anger. So yeah, sometimes you have to think as a person working in the business, how do I say what I want to say? Or do I not say it because I know it could be misinterpreted, and do I want to have the hassle of...
Right.
Because I see stuff all the time that irks me that I don't say anything about. Like I commented the other day about, people getting rejected from the New York Comic Con.
Oh, I could talk about that all day.
Right. And that's been going on for a long time. And nobody should ever be surprised that you get rejected. And no one should ever be surprised that you get disrespected, because those conventions are not run by people who know anything about comics, really. This is the way they're making money.
Yeah.
So, they're gonna invite people who are the voice actor on the new TV show or whatever, because that's what the average person coming in wants. They want to. Voice actors have replaced cartoonists.
Well, but also the Artist Alley and places like that, where I think my understanding was that there was a person who was in that position who was kind of curating Artist Alley, and
they're not there anymore.
They're not there anymore, and that's a lot like we talked about having an art director leave, and then suddenly they bring in they have their own favorites, and you have to you might be someone they don't know, and now you have to introduce yourself and start all over again. So yeah, it's rough.
And as I'm always saying, our whole generation is doing this. It's slowly moving away. It's slowly moving out to sea, right? It's moving and moving out to sea. The whole industry, the whole direct market is aging out and moving away, and it's being replaced by other stuff. And all the people that I grew up with and admired are mostly dead. And most of the people that I worked with, and when I started, are either dead or retired. And most of the people that I did the bulk of my work with as a professional are no longer working in the business editorially, right? And that happens to everyone. If you were working in the 90s, the chances are the people you are working with are no longer working editorially. If you're working with somebody even 15 years ago, the chances are that that person, they were at Oni or some other Dark Horse or where, those people are gone. They are no longer working in the business, or they have moved on.
Right.
And people really forget that, because your history and how people treat you and how you are remembered is something that you have absolutely no control over, because it just is. It is your interaction with those people at a particular time frame, and people don't like to think about that, or maybe they don't even think about that. But again, all the people I worked at Marvel and all the people I worked at DC are mostly all gone. One or two people are left, literally, right? Like all the people I worked with first, they're gone. All the people I worked at Valiant, they're gone.
Right.
You know, all the people I worked at a lot of those different companies are gone. So if I meet somebody who is 30, chances are they probably never read a comic I drew.
Right.
Right? In 5 years, that will certainly be true. And anybody who's working today, in 10 years, the chances are anybody you work with won't be working in comics. And the young people who come in maybe will have not read anything that you did, because the business is much more expansive now than it used to be. You know?
So this also kind of keys into like maybe one of our episodes where we talk about navigating the business, is that our crew or whoever gave you work in a certain period of time are going to move on, shift, get fired, wind up someplace else. And it's also on you to keep those relationships going or navigate the new ones, right? Right? Because that's where you see people just kind of like sail off away from the land of men because they didn't figure out. Remember in the mid 90s, the seminal book "Who Moved My Cheese" is all about, right? Do you remember this book? This is all about how business was changing. And all right, I got to do this real quick. So all these mice were in a maze, and every day they'd go to the middle of the maze, and there was a piece of cheese, and they ate the cheese. Finally, one day they go to the middle of the maze. There's no cheese. And there's a big argument with the mice. One of the mice is like, yo, I think we got to go find this cheese somewhere. And the other mouse was like, yeah, I'm going to chill. I'm going to just wait for this cheese to come back. They're like, suit yourself. That's where we are in the world. Are you going to go find the cheese, or are you going to wait? You know what I'm saying? I think I solved everything right there. We can turn this off. You're welcome.
Well, I even use key features, right? Like 2 of my editors and the one that hired me have been gone 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
2 of my other editors have been there from the beginning. So half the people that I would interact with on a weekly basis are gone.
Right.
Right. And King Features closed the thing in New York, and they moved the people to Florida. And, you know, a lot of the people who would see the name Mike Manley, probably the person that processes my checks, probably is not the same person.
Right.
I know the guy that used to work at DC and hasn't been there for like 10 years, right? I still get my check, but so what I'm saying is, like, I think people forget that all this is in constant motion, and all these platforms that everybody uses are also in constant motion. So your idea of where you are in the world is not as fixed as you actually think it is, and you literally have no control over whether it melts tomorrow or it lasts until you're 100. You know, because you don't pull the strings, right? So, you know, if what was it last week, Meta or Instagram was going to steal everybody's shit and use it to train AI, right?
Hmm?
Well, you got no say in that. You can go now and you got to go through the 15 layers and slide the little things to turn it all off. But like
Right.
literally every week there is something like that. There's something that somebody's doing that's gonna compromise or steal or do something to your stuff.
I want to go back to the last bit we were talking about, and even the whole idea of you being on your social media and just saying wild shit out your mouth, and then being surprised when people react to it. And especially like when we're talking about these cons and all this other kind of stuff, I never, if you guys follow me on a lot of social media, I don't respond to anything. I just sit back and I just peep it, right? Because it's like, what am I going to add to this besides, getting a target on my back? But one thing I always want to say is trying not to burn bridges. And Mike just talked about how people move around. Like, what are those puzzles with the hole in the middle where the things keep sliding around? It's going to happen. So if you're like, oh, I didn't get into this con, they suck, and that's like a big red bold type print on your Facebook, you don't think they read that stuff?
Actually, I don't think they read that stuff.
Well, just hold on, let me finish this thing. I think like the strong reactions that I see from cats every year when they don't get into something, all that goes away the next year when they get in, and they're like, "Hey guys, see me at booth 347. What about all that stuff you had to say last year? Keep that energy." You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like all of this kind of reactionary, like puffery, is not helping your bottom line, because I do think people see that stuff, especially if it's like a mom and pop show, or if there's like one dude who's kind of running this stuff, and you're somewhere like digging his back out on the internet saying how shitty his show is. What makes you think you're ever getting invited?
Well, I was going to say I don't think that ReadPop reads people's Facebook feed. They don't. I don't think they care. I mean, those like, I'm sure if I applied, they would reject me. I would expect that they reject me. I got rejected by another con the other year. I don't take it personal, just because I know that that's the way the business was, right? I had my day in the sun where people would fly me and put me up in a hotel. I still get that. I did the Little Giant show. Fantastic show. The thing is that you have to expect that not everybody's going to like you now, and there's a way of expressing your disappointment in a professional manner, and then there's just throwing, vegetables on the stage or whatever, right? And it's generational. I think, again, that's the thing. I do not accept disrespect, but I don't expect to be respected.
But there is an interesting social media gives you an opportunity in some cases to take advantage of rejection. I've seen this where someone doesn't get involved, and like their book doesn't get picked up, their project, they don't get invited to a convention, something like that happens, and so you're able to go on social media and say that didn't happen, that I didn't get this opportunity, and then your community can rally around you in some fashion, or you can find solidarity with other people who are also in that same boat. So I think there's a way of communicating the position you're in, or the one you find yourself in, without necessarily, napalming the bridge. I think you can, figure out a way to communicate with people and, I don't know, vent in a way and find solidarity, because I do think that's out there. And I think Fabrice this week kind of was a good example of how to do it. Posted about exactly what we're talking about. And I think being a careful communicator, or a deliberate communicator, and that's what kind of our job anyway, is to make sure we're understood.
And think of your social media as another arm of your career. That's another part of your communication array. And if that's all poisoned, it got gangrene on it, you did that.
Well, I also still think that people don't realize, because they're inside the system, they don't realize what is happening to the entire industry. And you're in the industry. And like I said, that's how I always use the sort of the ice flow thing, right?
Yeah.
Is that, I'm at the age now where I realize, because I pay attention to my social media and I pay attention to my feedback, I know where the bulk of the age of my fans are.
Right.
And I don't expect someone who is 20 to have ever read anything that I've done or ever read anything that I've done. That doesn't mean they may not see something on Instagram in their feed and like it, but they're not going to read strips. Right. And if they read strips, they're going to read strips probably on, Webtoons or some other. They're not going to go to Comics Kingdom and read anything that I've done.
Right.
That's not what they're interested in, right? Like, I didn't read Judge Parker when I was 10, right? So if I met Harold Ledoux when I was 10 years old and he said I drew Judge Parker, I'd be like, what? I would, So I think, and there's just also so much stuff, and so much is moving so fast. There's literally, I think, one of the things we all suffer from is just too much stuff. Like, how do you purse all the social media and all the different things and there's too many conventions. I know a lot of people that do conventions, and some of them are getting burned out now, because I know guys who are doing 2-3 conventions a month, literally living out of their suitcase. And some people were doing it because that was the way they were making their living, because they weren't able to get enough work.
Right.
So they could go to shows and do autographs and sketches and whatever, and that's how they're making their living. Not drawing comics, but making their living based upon the nostalgia of fans who remember their work. But not every show is going to have a lot of that. And even my younger friends who do shows, sometimes they do a show and nobody's buying. So you're young and you got stuff and nobody's buying that either, right? You're sitting there all weekend and you make $200, or maybe you break even, right? You fly across the country, you take all your shit, you set up your stuff, you got your hotel, everything else, and maybe you clear $1,000, right? Which in today's world is not a lot of money. Used to be when $1,000 was like doing pretty good. Like $1,000 is what? 10 bags of groceries? You know what I mean? I just got a bag of groceries today. I didn't even get any meat, and it was like $60, right? So just even the economics and the fact that there's so much entertainment and everything is so split that there are people that just don't even know that part that you're part of even exists. Right?
Yeah.
They're not actively going, I'm looking at this thing and I hate it because it's old. They don't even know that thing exists because they're not even looking in that part of the world where your thing is. Right? And I think the big conventions, which cost, somebody said the other day, but one of the conventions had to pay $250,000 for the security at one of the conventions. So the expense to put on a convention is enormous.
Yeah.
So the fact that they're going to have Artist Alley, and they're going to give Artist Alley to people for free, maybe
tables and drapes and signage, and if there's carpeting and there's all that stuff, it's just
insurance.
Crazy expensive.
Right. And the last New York show I was going to do was a Fred Greenberg show. And Fred lost money on a show in Philly because they had a huge snowstorm. So he was going to do this show in New York. And what I heard was that he didn't pay somebody, the dresser or something. So they didn't get the plans approved by the fire marshal.
The fire marshal.
Fire marshal has to come in and go, okay, it looks like everybody's not going to die. Okay. Right. And so the show was canceled.
Oof.
It was
was like 95 or 96 or something. I went to New York for that.
Yeah. And I lost money, and a lot of people lost money. So for me to go to the New York show, let's even say they give me a table, so I get $600 credit.
Right.
Then the hotel is going to be $1,000.
Right.
And
you don't want to split it 8 ways, Mike?
no, I'm too old to be splitting my hotel with 15 dudes, right?
Uh-huh.
You know, you got to wait 4 hours to take a dump. No, sorry. And I don't, I'm 64. I don't enjoy it. I enjoy seeing my friends and all that stuff. But you have to work really hard when you're at a show to make money, to make it worthwhile. As I always say, I can sit here and do commissions, and that's pure profit.
Right.
I can sign books with CGC. They can send it to my house. That's pure profit.
Right.
Now, if I go to that Little Giant show, it was a nice show. It was a small show. The people were really nice. You can interact with your fellow professionals. You can interact with people. It's not so ginormous that you're just like exhausted by the whole thing. It's like, really, what is the quality of your experience? When you're young, you just take it all in, And I've done my time. I had my booth for several years in San Diego and spent all that time and money shipping my stuff and all that stuff. But I realize now that I don't want to do that. I don't want to have all that stuff and haul it to a show. I want to show up and sign stuff and maybe do some sketches. People are not going to come and they'll just finger all your artwork up anyway. They're not going to come and buy it, right? So, a guy like Alex Ross is selling prints.
And he ain't there either.
Right. And he's got like people who are running his booth for him, right? And he's got Marvel and DC behind him, right? He's working on the most popular characters. If he was doing unknown characters, that wouldn't happen that way.
All right, let's get to some of these questions. I've enjoyed this breezy chat. I'm going to mix these up, and I've been banking these. Let's coming off the energy of what we just talked about. Two-parter, Cruisin' Bill. What up, Cruisin' Bill from YouTube? We notice how hard it is to find who does the art on comics. Today, some like Boom are better about representing the artist on the covers, but often it's hard even when trying to find out who did it. How should comic artists today ensure they get the proper recognition for their art if working for a big company like Marvel, etc.? Gentlemen.
I think that's probably might be the best value in a social media account. I mean, one of the benefits, like we talked about this last week about why work for any of these big companies anymore. Like, I think there's a lot of downsides to that, but I think one of the upsides is the notoriety you get from, hey, here's my Spider-Man cover, here's my Adventure Time cover. Like, I did an Adventure Time cover, like I mentioned, was suddenly it was in another there, it's work for hire, so it was appearing in poster books and other places like that, without royalties, to be clear. But also in the in the trade, the work was given credit. They made a mistake and put the wrong credit on it, like the label. It still had my signature on it. Well, okay, have a legible signature.
Yeah, that's important.
And then just use social media to promote the heck out of it. Like, I still have like a little table standee which says, he's worked. I wrote Aquaman, like a short, for like a handbook to the Aquaman. I wrote a short story of Aquaman. Aquaman's listed. So I got my paycheck for that. I got comps for a long time for having that credit. But, Aquaman's still on the table, and that brings some people in. It gets me a guest spot at some conventions, not just for Aquaman, but like then I mentioned covers for Adventure Time and Archie and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers. And all those things add up to create a little bit of a resume that lets me go places and talk about the Middle Age. So that's making sure I get attention, legible signature, and then do the work myself.
Mike, what do you think?
I mean, you have no control over what Marvel and DC and how they promote you. You don't. That's the thing. Like Steve says, what do? I spend every day waving my flag on social media. After 42 years, nobody flies my flag but me. Right? And I made all those companies a lot of money. And I've drawn thousands of pages and done lots of storyboards and backgrounds and character designs and all kinds of shit. And nobody promotes me. If you go in the Comics Kingdom and you dig down onto the Phantom page, there's a photo of me with a little bit of my resume that I sent them. Nobody will ever promote you except when it works in their favor at that moment to promote you. And the big companies specifically do not want to promote you as a creator. Some of the writers, but never as an artist. And that's all because they still butthurt by what Image did. There's Image, all those guys went off and they formed their own company, and Marvel and DC are still corporately against promoting the artists. So you have no control whether they put your name on the cover, how big they put your name on the cover. They don't ask you. You don't get any feedback. So it's on you. I mean, look, what did Jamar do? He goes around, even though Scholastic's a great company, he goes around and promotes himself with Leon.
And also the environment has changed. The corporate environment has changed in those 30, 40 years, Mike. Also in that the assistant editors and the editors and the marketing people are all doing 10 times as much work as they did back then.
And
they're
they don't
doing the work of 5 people. What's that?
They don't even have the people that they used to have.
Right. They don't have the people. And so the people they do have left are doing the jobs of 10 people. And so, you're going to get shortchanged.
Yeah. So yeah, it's on you. If you follow the Kidlit stuff, every author is out there always doing stuff themselves.
Guess what, you guys? I just got off of a plane from Nashville, Tennessee this afternoon. Boy, are my arms tired. But I was in Tennessee giving a keynote speech just on that topic. And it's just like you have to do it yourself. There's no way around it. Thank you.
Is that going to be online anywhere, Jamar? Oh,
no recording. That's on my writer.
No cameras.
No, that's right. No recording. All right, next question. This is from a face I've never seen. Maybe we have some new pencil pushers. Lucky Mari 878 says hello. Question: when setting up your comic making space, drafting table, etc., what are some things that are really important that you wish you knew sooner? That's interesting. Like, how do you figure out what your space needs or doesn't need? That's kind of like a thing that evolves over time. But Steve, what do you think about this question?
Oh boy, wish I knew sooner. Some obvious things like a glove, like things like that to keep oils from my hand off the paper. Trying to find
glove.
What's that?
A magic glove.
Or just trying to keep the air cool so I don't perspire on the page if I'm working on some traditional artwork. I'm assuming the question is focused on traditional artwork. And comfortable chair, things like that. Pretzels are better than any kind of greasy snack if you're going to have anything. Yeah, most of my work is almost all my work is on the iPad, so it can be done anywhere. So this might be a better question for you guys.
Let me take this off the screen so we can see Mike. I just see like the top of his head. I will say, and I can probably vouch for all of your expert cartoonists, that we've all our spaces have evolved. I think we're all very fortunate to have spaces, right? Like I've said in the past, some people just have a corner of the kitchen table. Mm-hmm. And when you got to make breakfast, you got to move all your crap, right? You don't have all of this. I think when you spend enough time in one area, it's probably smart to have things that are in arm's reach. Like if you have things in the background that just is like aesthetics or it looks cool on your live stream, but you can't get to it to work, it's not functional. Right. And I've been learning that over a lot of years. It's like I have like a tool like a tool chest back there. I don't even know what's in it. I haven't looked at that thing in 7 years.
Right.
So like, keep things that you're actually going to use near you. I will also say that probably if you're on your way to being an expert cartoonist, the muse isn't real. You don't need to get started with a matcha drink and a stack of manga and some chips. Like, just get to work.
Right.
And looking for like a happy distraction to excite you to get working doesn't really exist. Mikey, anything for Lucky Mari?
I would say that the most important piece of equipment you buy is your chair, because you're going to spend, if you're a successful cartoonist, you're going to spend most of your waking hours sitting in a chair.
How did you find that chair, Mike?
This chair I got at Staples.
Okay.
Because my other chair, my late cat Fetchin, jacked that chair. And that chair I'd had for 4 or 5 years. And, after 4 or 5 years, any modern chair starts to kind of go down. So I went and got this one at Staples. So I went and I sat in it. And it's still pretty good. But probably another 2 years I'll have to get another chair. Right? So get a good chair. Have a decent study table. And then your place doesn't have to be big, but it has to be organized. It has to be clean.
Yeah.
Clean as a scale, which is like, if you got to dig through 47 bags of old food, right? But, you should have all your tools that you need right there. Right. All your reference right there. So I have a table, I have a lap board, I have a side table, right, which is also sort of a flat file and have a drawer in it. I have a couple drawers in here. You can see my, it's a basic, it's like a workshop, right? You're like if you go into a dentist, right, he's got the chair and he's got other things, and all his stuff is right there to drill into your mouth, right? So whatever your setup is, make sure it's organized, have all your stuff, try to clean up and put it back. Make sure that it's comfortable and that you like sitting there. If the whole time you're sitting there, you're uncomfortable, that's not good. It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't even have to look good. It has to just work for you to be able to sit down and work.
Also, something that I think we shouldn't leave out is watch your posture. Watch your right, right, Mike Manley. Watch your posture. I've seen over time, and we've used them. So there's some cartoonists who even have little guides on stretching that you can look up, like doing some hand and finger exercises, and like those arm pulls and things like that. That's real.
Or hire a giant to come over and go.
All right, thanks, Lucky Mario. What a great question. All right, next up, our buddy Tim Fielder. What's up, Tim? Tim says, George Lucas made a mess today, didn't he? LOL. I don't know what's going on. What did Lucas do today?
He was saying positive things, I think, about AI. But who cares what George Lucas says? He's a billionaire. He doesn't even make films anymore.
You don't even go to the school.
The only thing I think is doing well is he's doing that museum, which will probably be pretty cool because he's got an amazing collection and he does have good taste. But how is he need more of an asshole than Martin Scorsese is using for AI using for storyboards? I mean,
he doesn't even go here.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really care what George Lucas thinks, and I don't really care what Martin Scorsese thinks. His likes or dislikes are not going to affect anything that I do. again, that's like one of those things that we were talking about, like Joe's comment about that convention, right? It's like the Supergirl thing. It's just something so people can just get all angry, and it's just like a hate magnet, you know.
Wait, I see the problem. This doll's set to evil.
You know, if George Lucas was still making films that anybody cared about, maybe it would matter. But he hasn't made a good film in decades. So.
All right, cool. Thanks, Tim. I have no dog in that fight.
You're gonna say since Howard the Duck.
Since Howard the Duck, exactly.
All right, I gotta curate my stuff here. All right, so good to see you, old friend and superstar in his own right, Chris Eliopoulos. And you know we're friends because I say his last name with no stutter, with no stammer. Chris, how are you, sir? Who were your biggest influences and who is rocking your socks these days? Steve Conley, let's start with you.
Biggest influences. Wow.
Jamar Nicholas.
Jamar Nicholas, of course. Naturally. Boy. I've been looking at a lot more painters in the fantasy area as I've been doing more fantasy work for TTRPG stuff. So looking at they're not the question, who were your biggest influences? Okay, who were my biggest influences? Wally Wood. I started thinking about modern people I'm digging into right now. Wally Wood was probably the first guy whose name I saw legibly printed in a comic, and it was the Curse short story in a book I saw at the library.
Yes.
And then it was the Hobbit LP picture book that came with the record. Ask your grandparents.
Wow.
Which all had like early proto Studio Ghibli artwork in it, and those two things are probably the most formative influences on my work. And then it was all then after that it's just a sea of people. And then what's rocking my socks these days is I picked up Billy Bat Volume 1, and that's fantastic. That's Urasawa, and it's great. I read a bootleg translation online years ago because it wasn't in English, and now it is, and so it's just great to have. You guys,
Mike, how about you go next?
Well, there were influences I had when I was young, and then the influences that I had when I was old. And I had one of those influence maps. Remember they used to do those on Facebook where you put all the. So it's basically all the core Marvel guys, right? And then Neil Adams and Kubert and Heath and those core DC guys. And then the Mad Magazine guys, and then all the Hanna-Barbera stuff and the Warner Brothers stuff, and then went into Frazetta and heavy metal and Mobius, and so like each decade you would find another influence, right? And then eventually get into illustrators and and I see a lot of stuff now, but I don't know if I would say there's anybody new that is rocking my world. I see a lot of new stuff. I post a lot of stuff. If you want to know what I'm looking at, if I like something, I usually post it on my Instagram stories. I link a lot of stuff on my Instagram stories. So I'm always finding a lot of artists from Europe, a lot of Franco-Belgian cartoonists, and there's some Japanese guys, but you can't always read. I don't read Japanese, so I don't always know what their names are. But I don't buy any. Like I said before, I don't buy any current comics. I look at stuff. If I like it, when the trade comes out, I'll buy the trade. Like I was looking at maybe buying, if they put out the Martian Manhunter thing, or like the Chris Samney Batman thing, I'll put that out. But I don't really, I look at stuff all the time and I see stuff that I like, but I'm sort of in a different phase. When I was younger, I looked at my contemporaries. I had my heroes, but I also looked at my contemporaries. But I don't do that now. I'm really like looking at stuff that meant stuff to me, but I'm also focusing on me. And that's a different stage. You know, when I was 15, I'm looking at my heroes and trying to emulate my heroes. When I'm 30, I'm working and I'm looking at my heroes and I'm trying, but I'm also looking at my competition. I'm also looking at the other people at Marvel and DC. I'm looking at what's coming out. You know, I go in the comic book store every week, but I'm not doing that stuff now. Again, I see it all through my social media. I see tons of stuff, but you know, I'm not drawing Spider-Man, and I'm not necessarily interested in going back and drawing Spider-Man or Batman or anything like that. So I'm in a different phase, and I think what will happen is everybody will go through those phases. And usually what I experienced from having friends who were older, like Williamson or Villagran, is you tend to go back and look at stuff that influenced you when you started. And you see it in a different way. You see it in a different way. So if I go back and I look at a Neil Adams story now, I see it in a different way than I saw it when I was 15, and I wanted to be Neil Adams, right? Like I can go look at a Frank Robbins strip, or I can go look at an old Luis Dominguez horror comic cover from the 70s, and I can look at it in a different way because your eyes see things, you experience things in a different way. You know, it's like I played the game,
right?
Been in the game.
Thinking about Chris's question about the biggest, is there a biggest influence? Is Neil Adams? Would you, if you gun to your head, you had to pick one? Is it Mobius? Kirby? Just drawing the Marvel way? Just it permeates too many artists?
If I would put it on one hand, it would probably be Mobius, Buscema, Kirby, Adams, and
Marniclus.
Maybe Al, because through Al you get Raymond. You know what I mean? Like each one of those guys, you also get their influences.
Yeah, and you also had your proximity to Williamson was so close. How could it not be? They have an outsized.
Right. But I also look at his work differently than I did when I was in the studio. Right. And the things that I like things about his work more, and there's some things about his work that I like less that because I'm a different artist, right? And so there's that process of when you want to wear your hero, you want to wear his, you want to wear him, you want to be that person,
right?
But you can't, right? You can't, right? And there's certain artists, like I don't draw like Jack Kirby,
right? But you pull any one of those five out, and you're a different artist,
right?
Yeah.
But if you go through their influences, you go back to a root, because you go back to the same, you know, Foster Raymond.
Yeah. When I say I like Wally Wood, I also like all the people he was tracing.
Right. And what happens is, like I said, I think as you get older, that's where you look at stuff in a different way. Like I love Wally Wood, and he was a huge, you know, like right after that, he'd be like number 6, maybe, right?
Your vestigial sixth finger.
Right. Yeah. But now when I look at his work, I also look at it in a different way. And there's things that I take from it that I didn't take when I was, or I didn't appreciate in the same way when I was younger. Like Neil Adams had that way of making you believe things were realistic, even though they're not fucking realistic. He convinces you his style is realistic. Right. But if you know about, as you learn and you grow, you realize that it's in its own way, as stylized as Kirby.
Sure.
Right? But he brings in that sort of Madison Avenue sense of realism.
He sells it. He sells it.
Shadows, and he sells it, right? But so you can look at stuff like that, and you can lift or appreciate things that he's doing, that you can apply that idea without necessarily having to apply the style. That's the trick, because the same way with somebody like Kirby, right? If you try to do Kirby, Kirby can only do Kirby because everything is Kirby. If you do Kirby, you're only like a little bit of Kirby, right? So
you're not full-blown Kirby.
Right, yeah. So if you look at like Buscema is probably the greatest example of that, because he basically took Kirby's structure and chassis and dynamics and layouts and all that sense of storytelling, and then he put his much more realistic volumetric drawing on top of it, right? And ended up with something that wasn't what he did before and wasn't what Kirby did. It was like another thing. So yeah, and for a while I kind of fell out of love with Adams. I think I was so into him, I sort of fell out of love with him, and now I appreciate him again in a way that I didn't. And like Garcia Lopez, right?
Sure.
I actually like Garcia Lopez now probably more than I like Neil Adams, because I realize that Garcia Lopez works on a level of drawing that's a little bit more sophisticated.
Yeah, virtuoso. Yeah.
All right, let me do mine. We're gonna run out of time. Come on, Steve Conley, Stone Cold Steve Conley. Mine are very comic strip based, because part of my lore is that I got into comics later, but I'm a comic strip baby. So my really early influence was Gary Trudeau, which you don't see any dudes bury in my work, but
you don't draw those like weird
the slash eyebrows.
Yeah,
it's my favorite. But really, especially when I'm in between my books, I go back to Tezuka. I'm a giant Tezuka fan, and just studying Astro Boy is, that's really key for me. Also, I'm a big Hank Ketchum fan. I'm a big Eric Larson fan, and I mean, and if you want to start deconstructing some of the cartoonists, yeah, everything kind of goes back to Kirby as far as comics are concerned. But there's a lot of Larson influence in my page layouts, and even some big Kirby hands in some of my drawings.
Was that the Savage Dragon, Eric, or was that the Spider-Man, Eric?
Well, it kind of started with the Spider-Man, Eric, and the Savage Dragon. Like, that was at one point when I was like salad days dead broke. I would get my Savage Dragon comic from the store and just leave with that. Like, I needed that. I don't need anything else. And also Paul Grist. I'm a big Paul Grist fan. And if you could say, oh, okay, well, did you like Toth? Yes. I also like Mignola. Yes, but Toth. But Grist is his own. His 100%. Own. Oh yeah, I need to get him.
Is he doing something new, right?
He was on his Facebook showing old Kane pages that never went anywhere. But and I've been needling Paul Grist for a decade to get interviewed by me, and he keeps dodging me. We're gonna make that happen. All right, we're running out of road, but here's another question from Sean Chai, which kind of goes into what we're talking about. Do you ever actively look for influence? Like, you want to work on a particular thing and look for who's doing it well, so you can deconstruct what they're doing? I'll start with this real quick. That sounds. I mean, I can't speak for the other guys, but I feel like there is a research phase of every project. And sometimes I'll just collect things and just kind of let them wash over me, and then I put them away, or I'll maybe kind of, to your question, I might go, oh, you know what? I remember there was this really great page in Ron Wimberly's Prince of Cats where he drew this like the Brooklyn Bridge. It was dope. let me think about that, and I might look at it and never look at it again.
Right.
So, but I don't like go digging for things, especially when I'm in the middle of a project. I don't want to be influenced by other people's stuff because it gets in the way of my storytelling. Steve, what do you think?
I'll just co-sign that. I'll absolutely.
Mike, what you got? What you got for that?
Well, it really depends upon the project, right?
Right.
So it's all project dependent. Like when I took over the strip, I looked at the Phantom. I looked at Cy Berry's stuff because that sort of like he's like the Romita of the Phantom. I don't look at it now.
Right.
But if I was going to do, I don't know, like a fantasy thing or something that had a feeling of, I don't know, like steampunk or like turn of the century, I might go look at some stuff. Yeah, it's all project dependent, I wouldn't have to do that if I was going to do something with Marvel or DC or something that I was familiar with. But yeah, if I was going to do something like when I did my web comic on Webtoons, I was looking at like Miyazaki and other stuff that was sort of in a different meter than what I was normally doing because I wanted to do something different. So yeah, the worst thing to do, I think, is to draw with the other guy's book on the desk.
Yeah.
I think you can study that and you can copy it, and then you can draw from your drawings to analyze it. But if you're drawing with it right there, you're crippling yourself because you're not internalizing,
right?
Because it's all about your analysis. So it's like if you want to draw like Kirby, you can look at Kirby, you can study Kirby, you can practice Kirby, practice, then put Kirby away, and then whatever sticks with you from Kirby will come out for you.
Right.
Oh, I wanted to throw another thing on my influences. Jamie Hewlett.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah, I had a bunch of Deadline magazines and Tank Girl. I was a big Tank Girl mark, and all that kind of really like hardcore, like indie self-publishing stuff. Like I was a big Ben Edlund fan. Love the Tick. Rob Schraub's Scud, his Disposable Assassin. With his writing partner who kind of created Rick and Morty. That? That's a whole thing. So
the Lost Bros.
Oh yeah, like the Hernandez brothers, of course. Yeah. And I have a bunch of Love and Rockets that I just have not gotten around to reading, but I can just look at Jaime stuff all day. It's so good. All right, we have a couple more questions, and we're going to wrap up this episode. Thank you guys for your eyeballs and your questions. From the comic fan who walks. It's a good Ted Knight, right? Yeah. This is from Mike. Mike, shooting from the hip. Top 3 favorite Looney Tunes directors that made an impact on you.
Well, it would be Jones, and then after Jones, I used to be Freeling, and then McKimson. And it's funny. I think Freeling stuff was more artistic. But I find the older I get, the Bob McKimson cartoons make me laugh more. Like I watched a little bit of the one with the Tasmanian Devil or what. It's like Bob McKimson, who was, along with Chuck Jones, an animator for Bob Clampett. He's one of his characters all have that little pot belly. Like all of his characters have like Foghorn and Leghorn. I love those cartoons. And sometimes it's not artistic, but it makes you laugh. Something can be artistic, but not make you laugh. And to me, the point of the cartoon is to make you laugh. Right. So the point of those cartoons is to make you laugh. Right. Like I don't like any of the really early. I'm not a huge Clampett fan, and I don't like some of the early Chuck Jones with the little. What is it, Sniffly or Sniffles, the mouse or whatever? That stuff is a little too cutesy poo, like some of the Yosemite Sam ones by Freeling are really funny. He had a great sense of timing, and which you could see, which was carried over to those Pink Panther cartoons and the Inspector. I love those Inspector cartoons.
I love the Inspector. That's my dude.
I love those cartoons. And I think that he stayed better longer than the other two. I think Chuck Jones peaked, and then he became almost like a parody of himself. Like I have a hard time watching anything like that Ricky Tikki Tavi, and like the Grinch is fantastic. But a lot of some of Jones's later stuff I think was too full of his Chuck Jonesisms.
Okay, cool. Great question. Great answer. Thank you for that. Comic fan who walks. All right. Last one for now. We might be able to put one more in if somebody gives me a good one, a good zinger in the chat. Sean Chai, this is for me. For me. It's for me. Mainly for Jamar. What advice would you have for a dumb white introverted girl who wants to make inclusive comics? Oh, that is not fair to you. I would say, you know what? If you have great comic stories you want to do, just do them. Just do them. And if you feel like maybe what you're writing to or drawing to feels a little like if the voice feels flat, or maybe that you're missing information, reach out to people and ask them what they think. Show your drafts to some close friends, or if you have a really good social network that can actually give you real advice, not the refrigerator friends. Refrigerator friend. That's nice, dear.
Right.
Like somebody can go, hey, I like what you're doing here, but like maybe you should think about the tone of it. Or I see you're trying to be an ally here, and I respect that, but it's kind of leaning or whatever. Right. Just get some good feedback. And, I think if you can get a really good test kitchen going, then you don't want to just put stuff on the internet just to, get flamed out for it. Because everybody is angry. Remember what we just talked about? Everybody's mad about something. So if you feel like what you're doing, because you said inclusive comics, like you're going for something, right? You're trying to bring in an audience or give love to a certain audience. Make sure that they can receive it. So just do your homework before you put it out into the world. Does anybody else want to add to that?
I would say don't call yourself dumb.
Well, I mean that's
yeah. I think if you work up a short story, and then there's people you follow on Instagram, artist writers that you like, write them and see if you ask them if you can send them your work for an honest critique. Most people will be happy to give you a critique if you approach them in a respectful way. Mm-hmm. And then just be open to the critique. That's the hardest part for people in the beginning, because we're all sensitive and we all want love. And sometimes it's hard to have somebody to go, you say, but this is what I was trying to do. And the person goes, oh, okay, well, I totally didn't get that that's what you were trying to do. And then being able to take that and incorporate it. And everybody makes mistakes, and figure that everything you do for the first 4 or 5 years is just wood you're burning to get your boiler going. It's precious to you at the moment, but then you're going to do something else, and you will feel very passionate about it. And then 2 years, you'll look back and go like, wow, I'm so much better than I was back then. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I wouldn't, if you're sensitive enough to want to create, you cannot possibly be dumb, because dumb people are not sensitive.
Our new buddy Lucky Mari says to Shansha, make people first and race second, and pay attention to how they interact. Also, truly stupid people don't care how they impact others. So you're doing fine, Shansha.
Right. Yeah.
Look at that. Look at that support system.
It's a wonderful question. It's a
Yeah.
wonderful question. And I mean, I know the humility is artists are usually lousy with humility. But empathy is the best thing. Just put yourself in other people's shoes, and just trying to be inclusive is such a huge thing and wonderful. And nurturing empathy also makes your life better.
I love it. And that's what your three expert cartoonists do for you. Pencils down. Pencils down. We did it again, you guys. Guys, how do you call yourself a fan of cartooning in the world that we live in, and you don't watch Pencil to Pencil every Wednesday? How can you live with yourself?
With these kernels, free kernels.
Jewels and gems.
Jewels in the crown.
Dilithium crystals.
Dilithium crystals of
Gold
of
pressed
love.
platinum. Yeah, there you go. Gold pressed platinum. Thank you. Aletha Martinez, what a superstar in the chat. Create characters, not stereotypes. Man, we should just put a star on that.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Aletha. What a great response to that.
And sensitivity readers do exist.
Yeah.
They are there are professional sensitivity readers who, if you truly want to sort of bulletproof your work, you can employ them to give your work the once over.
Really? There are people that are on the Instagram at IamYourSensitivityReader.com.
I'm not sure about the URLs, but they're I know in the TTRPG space that is it's important to get, someone's going to look at your work from a different perspective, and that's always helpful.
I guess it's like having that's what the editor does at a regular book publisher.
Mm-hmm. With your books kind of in the editing phase and copy editing phase, they may employ sensitivity readers. Sometimes you don't know if who's reading your stuff until you get some comments back. But
oh,
they
really?
do,
So,
yeah,
you would submit your plot for one of your Leon things. They would,
or like there's a part in the process where I get notes back, and there's a lot of initials on there. I don't know who these people are, but there are people who were like checking through things, and we don't have a conversation about it, but they're there. So yeah, that's a thing, especially nowadays where everybody is very litigious.
Also, language, if you're writing for kids, language is really important. And language is really different and ever changing too. So I'm sure they got to be aware of that.
Yeah, beyond just you spelled this word wrong, that's kind of like, where's the tone? Where's this going? Who's going to see it? And nobody wants to get sued.
Yeah. And it's not just sensitivity for the reader. It's sometimes it's sensitivity for the reader's parents.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, that's a whole other audience.
Right.
Yeah, because the parents are buying the book. Kid goes, Mom.
Yeah.
And she looks at it and goes, what?
Yeah.
I'm not buying this.
What? But what you are buying is another week with us, your three expert cartoons. Guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us tonight. We had a wonderful time. Please support your expert cartoonists on their social media platforms.
And our Patreon.
And our Patreon. Did you get a URL yet for that, Mike? No.
Nope.
You said that so fast, I didn't hear it.
Nope.
I'll go put this link up. Right now, it's a string of letters and words like a.
Well, you go to Patreon and you type in Pencil to Pencil, you'll find us.
It's like a Wi-Fi password at the coffee shop right now. But yes, support your homeboys and make the world a better place. And thank you for joining us. Mike, do you want to tell who's on next week?
Who is on next week?
Is it Alberto on next week?
Alberto? Okay.
Yeah.
Our old buddy from the old country of print, Alberto Ruiz, will be joining us. And Alberto was a guy I met back when I was originally doing the magazine.
Yeah.
And he was like this, I don't know, like a wizard of design and craft, using at the time he was using Illustrator, and I had never seen anybody in the world make art that looked like that on Illustrator. And he's on Instagram if you look up Alberto Ruiz.
And he's in our archives because we interviewed him a little while ago.
Yeah, but just amazing. And I think he actually has a new book out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't want to miss this. So same time next week, Bat fans, true believers, face front. All right, let's pay some bills and get out of here, guys. You know the patron saint of Pencil to Pencil. You know the Sorcerer Supreme, Paulie Walnut.
The late Paulie Walnut.
Oh, did he die?
Yeah, he died a couple years ago.
I missed that. That wasn't funny, Steve. And what he would say in this alternate universe is, "Hey, Mike, you know Drostradamus predicted all of this." And what Drostradamus predicted is that as we go into the end game, it will behoove you to make sure your Kirby hands are clean. So let's wash those Kirby hands, and we will see you next week. Take care, guys. Keep drawing.
See you real soon.
Oh, hold on! I pressed the wrong button. Don't say anything.
See you real soon.